Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, the Prime Minister of Hungary, the courageous Mr. Viktor Orban, is outraged by what the weasel chief of NATO, the spokesperson, Stoltenberg, said. And I think Stoltenberg is not a very intelligent person. I think he's a weasel. He has that kind of intelligence, how to cut other people's legs and get on top of everybody else, say what he's supposed to, kiss whatever ass is necessary in order for him to get a little bit on top of everybody else, and he's just a parrot. That's what he is. If you want to see the reality and you want to see this as a fact, just watch Trump. Yeah, that bad Trump, bad person, yes. When he came and met Stoltenberg at that little dinner, lunch or breakfast, whatever it was, and see how Trump spoke with Stoltenberg in front of everybody else. Like Trump was the teacher and Stoltenberg was the student. Just look at that. Stoltenberg was like, smack, smack, I guess. Yeah. So what happened? We have some statements made by Stoltenberg, and Viktor Orban said, hey, what the are you talking about? Well, not quite like that. He's more diplomatic that I was here. So let's see. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda and is from today, April 21st, 2023. Orban outraged by NATO Secretary General's statement about Ukraine's future in NATO. Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, laconically expressed his outrage about the statements of Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, who said Ukraine should become a NATO member state in the future during his visit to Kiev. Now, the thing with should, it's up to all NATO member states, right? And the will of Ukraine, right? Right. And the situation around Ukraine, right? Right. On his Twitter account, Orban reposted an article from the political news outlet which cited the statement Stoltenberg has made in Kiev, and I'm quoting, Ukraine's rightful place is in the Euro-Atlantic family. Ukraine's rightful place is in NATO. Our support will make it possible with time. End quote. Orban reacted to this with an emotional what? Okay, question mark, exclamation mark. And this is Orban's little thing. What? All right. So background. In one of his latest interviews, Orban called Ukraine a financially non-existent state. Is that true or not? Well, if that would not be true, then the United States should not send about $250 million again before they send another 250. So they shouldn't do it, right? To support the government and all that. That's just for their government. Criticizing Europe for financing many basic needs of Ukraine and claiming that without this aid, and I'm quoting, the war will immediately stop. I agree with that. His statement was praised by Moscow immediately. Well, it doesn't matter. While Kiev reminded Orban about Hungary's dependency on the EU's finances. It's not the same thing, my man. It's not the same thing. And you know it, otherwise you're an idiot. All right, because if the EU would not give money to Hungary, right? Hungary would not be disappearing and just degrading. But I think Ukraine is in that point. It's going to be collapsing the whole society, Ukrainian nation, unfortunately. The ruling Fidesz party in the Hungarian government failed. Maybe they didn't want to. They didn't fail. They didn't want to adopt the draft resolution calling for the arrest of Russian President Vladimir Putin in accordance with the warrant of the International Criminal Court. I covered that, and I gave the Fidesz, the Hungarians, gave the argument why. They said because it's not in our law yet, it's not in our books, so it doesn't have any value, we can do it. But they don't tell you here. See how they tell you? They failed. They didn't fail. Right? But anyway, they failed to adopt the draft resolution calling for the arrest. Well, maybe they don't want to. How about that one? And they will drag their feet. Now, let's see why do you think Mr. Orban was upset? Or he asked that question. Let's see. We are told, since we are small, that we should follow the law. We should obey the law. And we should. The problem is, if you don't obey the law and you get caught, keyword get caught, you will be punished. All right, that would be in a country that has the rule of law, as the pinnacle. That is, everybody that would commit a crime, the same crime, should be punished the same way. But when you see that certain people just, they don't get punished for doing certain things, you lose faith, trust in the system. So there are some rules, some definite rules for being a member state of NATO. So it's not like, oh, I want it, come over, Red Rover. But hey, you want it? No, you can't. You have to do this first, this. Ukraine, I don't think has anything. It has the geopolitical, the geographical position. That's what it has. I agree with that. That's a good thing for Russia. If tomorrow Russia is no more, Ukraine, ping, they will not care. Right? So it's over there just because it's in Russia's rib right there. That's the only reason. Because as I said, Russia will disappear tomorrow. Never existed. There will be no NATO. There will be no Poland having rockets and all that. So in order to be a NATO member state, you have to follow clear steps. It's not like, oh, maybe you do, but maybe not. You might, you could, you should, you ought, No. You must. It's a must. You want to go to college, you have to have a certain SAT, whatever. You maybe get examined by, in other countries. You have to be normal. You have to show up. You have to do a lot of things. You have to have a certain age and so on. So there are some musts. Otherwise, the society will disintegrate. So there are rules and policies. Now if you work for someone, that the rules and policies could be like this, just bypassed. Come on, you know what? By the guy being the owner, being the CEO, the main guy. He can say, well, we make an exception right here. That means I don't care about what the policy says. I will say whatever I say and we'll change it. We'll agree this. Contrary to whatever the law is, the rule is over there. It happened to me. I know that. It didn't happen to you? Well, maybe you found the right people. But anyway, when I'm saying things could be always, avoided. In this case, NATO has certain, and it's a serious thing, they have certain steps. Hungary had to follow those steps, and it was not easy. They were by NATO. They say, you have to do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. I know that for Romania. And they treated the Romanians like Romanians. And I was offended then, but then I got to realize that from outside, well, maybe you should have treated. Why? Because, when you show up, I'm going to tell you a personal story after I finish with this thing. So what I'm trying to say is you have to follow the rules. And the rules are that all the countries in NATO have to say yay in order for the country to be a new member. And if Hungary would say no, they will not get in. But what they're going to do, as I told you before, they're going to find a way to call it not a member state. We'll call it, something like a Juju state. And Juju state has everything like a NATO state. Just use a different euphemism, and they're the same thing, but it's not gonna be called NATO state. That's all. They're gonna do that. They're gonna change the semantics, but not the essence. So let me tell you about the incident with the real life experience that I had with these guys. With these guys being the Americans and the Romanians, I felt insulted when I showed up first time at the U.S. Embassy in Romania. And I showed up over there, and there were bars, like cattle bars. You know how the cattle have metal bars that they can go this way and then this way and this way. Watch some videos and ranches, that's how they are, bars. Those kind of bars. Why? Because Romanians like to cut the line. I call it the Romanian line, which is everybody's on over there, and everybody's doing that. Because it needs civilization, and it seems like there was I don't identify with those people. So the American says, wait a second, we can't have this cattle doing that. We're going to do something else. We're going to put those bars because they behave like we have to adjust. And, and they did. So I felt insulted because I said, well, I'm not a cattle here. Why would they put these bars? Well, I realized when I got to know the people around me and know my people around me, let's put it this way, over there, I said, well, if you look from outside, that is like cattle. So what are you going to do? Let them push themselves and they dictate the way we're going to organize the whole thing, or we dictate? Well, then you adjust everything according to that. It's not going to be the dog in your house who's going to decide where he poops. You're going to decide when that dog poops or whatever, where and when. Not the dog. If you do that, then sorry, my bad. But here, so I felt insulted. So same here. Now, there are rules. How do you call them? The Hungarians will feel insulted because they were treated like that. The Romanians were treated like that in their when they applied for membership for NATO. But the Ukrainians somehow going to be rolled over the red carpet before they even check mark anything. And besides, you can't be a NATO member state if you're at war with another country. Not even at war. If you don't have everything okay with your countries around. So you have to, with each country that surrounds you, your neighbors that you border, you have to have with them, you have to have, okay, I have no, how do you call them, territorial, pretensions of anything from you. I don't claim any territories from your country. And I'm your friend, I'm cool. Why? Because if I don't do that, that means there's a problem. And you're gonna probably want some territories are gonna get, that's gonna be the how do you call it, the danger of getting in a little scuffle with a particular country and turn it into the military scuffle, and then NATO has to come and solve your problem that you have with that neighbor. So Ukraine doesn't have that. Doesn't have it with Russia. Let's start with that one. Will not have it with Belarus. So there's going to be two countries. And then if Romanians really want to say, but they already gave up their territories when they wanted to get into NATO. And it seems like the Hungarians as well, Poles as well. But hey, things change. You remember that? Hey, I didn't show up yesterday because things changed. What do you mean? We just changed. Now it's a different story. So we're going to change every 5 minutes? Yeah. Well, you're not a reliable partner than you. So yeah, that's why Orban was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? The process did not even start. Well, I know they're already on Ukraine and or everything organized, but are there rules or there are no rules? No rules. Or rules for you, but not for me. Or whenever I change the rules, I change. Look at what happens with Sweden. Sweden will be a de facto member, if not already, of NATO without Hungary's vote or Turkey's vote. They will change a little bit over there and that would be it. They give you a pretense that we're all equal and we vote and we in the European Union we're all there. The same, they have a consensus on placing sanctions on another country. What did the Italian guy, the former prime minister said? I can't remember his name. Mario Draghi, when Hungary had some little issues with this, he said, well, maybe we don't have it in unanimity. We're going to make it a majority. So he wanted to change the rules while playing. You can't do that. Why? Because he didn't like that a country like Hungary will just destroy the whole Brussels intention to slap sanctions on Russia. And it was Czech Republic as well, and it was Bulgaria as well. And those are little countries. What the hell? This is Italy right here. Well. Are we equal or are we not equal? We are on the paper, but in reality, we don't. We're not going to act like that. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Yes, Orban stays over there. We'll see what happens when Orban goes, because he's not eternal. He's going to go somewhere. You know what I mean? And then it's going to be hunting for all these guys that they will take care of Hungary. Like, I don't even want to think about it. How they're going to take care of it. Why? They're too independent. That's the only thing. Too independent. That's what happens when you are part of a tyrannical organization. You have a few that tells you what to do. You don't want it, we're going to make you. They're going to make the Hungarians sooner or later. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.